have another photo breakdown of some of these goals. So we'll be there. The frustration and anger will be back. But Belle, why don't we look at some scores first?
Yeah, first 2 games of the week, but last 2 games of the year. And they were both losses. On the 28th versus the Calgary Flames, they lost 2-3. Our player of the game is Philip Grubauer, who had 41 saves, a .932 save percentage, a 1.32 goal save above expected, and he tied the franchise record for saves per game. On the 30th versus the Edmonton Oilers, which would be the last game of 2020-22, they lost 2-7. Our player of the game was Morgan Geekie with 1 assist, 1.3 shots, and 7 faceoffs won. On the 1st, they started 23 off right with a win versus the New York Islanders. That was a 4-1 win. Player of the game is Adam Larson with 1 goal, 1 point, a 1+-, 4 shots, and 4 hits.
So, yeah, Belle, you talk about those. Winning to begin the year is good. And we can talk about that in a minute. But, man, oh, man. Remember last week we went with the breakdown of the goals here?
Yeah, lay it on me.
So first of all, let's preface this, right? We look at that Calgary game. You mentioned Grubauer having the 41 saves, 932 save percentage, 1.3 goals saved above expected, tying the franchise record for saves in the game. So Grooby has many nicknames. I'm getting laughed at. Grooby, my mom calls him Grubhub. Hi, Mom. My mom calls him Grubhub. Grubauer, all that sort of thing. We're gonna do a switch. Rough and Tumble again. We're here at Rough and Tumble. I just got a beer live on camera, so I appreciate that.
You're so welcome.
We've got an audio appearance. We do have a camera here. I love this place, man. Thank you. Wow, that was cool. We could do all these here. But so just prefacing that, right? So 41 saves, just a hell of an effort against Calgary. Calgary is a really good offensive team. They added Nazem Kadri over the offseason. It's a divisional game, right? And with that win, I believe they overtook you in the stand, or they knocked you down a peg in the standings. Come into this Edmonton game, Grubauer was named the starter, which when I saw him come out as the first off the ice, I was a little bit surprised, to be honest. I thought, with a tandem, my ideal way to look at a tandem is goalie start, and have it. I'm dancing here, but you know what I'm saying. We switch off here.
Right.
No, that wasn't the case. And I'll be okay with that because Grubauer is the better of the 2 goaltenders, and we can fight about that.
Hot take.
Within the first 4 minutes of the game, Edmonton has scored 3 goals, and we're going to look at some of the issues here. So, Belle, are you ready to Stare at the Uncomfortable Photo Part 2?
No and yes.
All right, here we go. Tell me what's wrong here. Besides the fact
that is he really just that close?
He's that wide open. He's that unmarked. You see the gentleman over to the far left over there, right next to the dot that's wide open? Yeah, that's where the pass came from, and that's where the guy was left wide open. So that's tap in.
Oh, my goodness.
Easy. Tell me. Oh, wrong one. Tell me what he does there. What can he do? What can he do?
I mean, just easy tap in.
Let me see if I can. This might be the Jonesy one. That's the Jonesy one. So let's look at this one. He's literally right in front of him. He's opened the door. He's saying, "Hello, would you like to learn about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?" And
Groovy's the only one there to try to defend.
Yeah, he's like, "I have opened the door. I did not look through the peephole. I did not get the Ring doorbell camera. I cannot look at him and tell him to get the hell off my porch." You look at the 3 skaters that are looking at him like, oh, bad.
Just staring
right now, but I'm not saying bad words. Right. So there's that. The third goal came off of a breakaway. It was a 3-on-2, and I don't have 3-on-2, right? 3-on-2, and the 2 up here. So the 2 went to effectively defend these 2, and they left the guy. And I'm using them. That's not the middle finger. Thank you. The middle guy was left wide open to shoot. He was in the garden spot. It was basically like target practice. We've got Nick here. Nick, that's nothing against Nick, but anybody could have done that. This third one is just unacceptable as well, and it's against Jones. So it's not just I'm pegging anything against Jones, but this is, again, he's walking down the aisles of Home Depot with his cart, and he's adding everything on the shelves. This is terrible. This is just it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And so I'll let you soak that in. If you need to pause and smash a keyboard, go ahead. Those aren't cheap, though. I would instead recommend having libations like Rainier.
There you go.
At Rough and Tumble Pub. But the vibe in the locker room was just rancid after that game. It was bad. You could tell people were upset. And it was really interesting because in the practice the day before, head coach Dave Haxel had basically said, I challenge the guys. They need the general gist of the quote is a pretty good quote. And I believe it's in our article for the loss against Edmonton. He basically challenged the team, hey, this is when things get real, right? It's like December in the NFL. Teams start to kick into another gear. Things get tougher. Points are, you need to get these points for the playoff seeding. The division starts to get tighter, and it's a big deal. And it was just funny to hear that quote to challenge the team to say, hey, are you just going to be happy with the way that things have been going? Or are you going to kick it into the next level? And then they put out that performance. So this prompted a pretty brutal practice the next day. RJ, my buddy from Emerald City Hockey, titled it a lunch pail sort of practice, more of a hardworking, a grittier. Yannick Gord called it a sandpaper-like practice. And they worked on the penalty kill. They really hammered some things home. They had a long talk after the practice had ended. My friends are leaving and they're not going to make an appearance. Terrible. Just know that they exist. Take care. I am alone here in the corner. And so you're like, okay, will this make any much of the difference? And it did. Seattle looked much cleaner in that win against the Islanders. They were able to. My big thing, too, part of it, if you read that article that I had against Edmonton, please go check that out. It was totally scorched earth. It was woof. But, talk about the defensive issues. Excuse me. Part of the thing is that Seattle, they were 22nd in shots per game in the league, which they're the bottom 10 in the league for a team that's got the offensive weapons that they have, that had the offensive November that they had. That's kind of unacceptable. They put up a good amount of shots in this game against New York. I put it out in a tweet yesterday that Seattle went 2-0 against New York. This guy got upset and he goes, the Islanders are in New Jersey. I'm like, shut up and accept it. I was like, you went out and you took the time to comment. Calm down. But they were just much cleaner defensively. The penalty kill went 2 for 2, thankfully. The power play actually scored. Eli Tolvanen scored his first goal as a Kraken in his first game. That was part of it, too, was with this whole, head coach Dave Haxel called it a mentality thing. And I think he's right. If you're at home and the dishes are full and they look nasty, part of it is, do I want to just kind of leave it there, or do I want to go out and I have to do the dirty work? I have to go out and clean the gutters. I have to go out and, pick the weeds, all this stuff. Who wants to go and do the dirty shit? Oh, well, there it goes. Who wants to go out and do that work? And in hockey, that's blocking shots, forecheck, back check, just doing the dirty work, doing the stuff, the gritty stuff. And that will usually decide who's a team that's in the playoffs and making a deep run, who's maybe making the playoffs and they're out in the first round, or maybe they just miss them all together. And Seattle looked like that team. They were much more active with their sticks. They were blocking shots. They were sacrificing their body. And I talk about Eli Tolvanen scoring on that power play goal. And that's a big thing when the team acquired him off of waivers, was he's got a really heavy shot. And so that was displayed, but also he was blocking shots and putting his body on the line. And that was what you want to see, not only from this team, but from players like that. Tolvanen's a guy who is effectively playing for a contract, playing for a home, and he's doing stuff like that. So that was really great to see after, obviously, those 2 losses. The 2-3 loss to Calgary, that's fine. You'd like to see better, but Calgary is a great team. And it's a divisional game, and I expect you're not going to go perfect against the division. It's damn near impossible in a lot of things. So basically, my point in this is Seattle got back to hardworking hockey, is what I like to call it. Their offense looked better. Adam Larson was able to score the first goal. Tolvanen scored the second. Shoot. on Oliver Bjorkstrand, who's had trouble scoring this year, was able to put one through as well. So maybe like if you keep missing shots, right? If I'm horrible from the free throw line, and I find not the free throw, 3-point line, and I finally get one to go, maybe that opens the floodgates. Right?
Yes,
that's what the hope is there. And he's kind of struggled. You see what I mean? I know Belle's the basketball person here, so I'm trying to work with her. But if they're able to keep this up, and that's been something with this Kraken team, even to last year, they beat a lot of talented teams last year. They just didn't play the 60 minutes, the full 60 minutes, the full team effort consistently. They play great periods here and there, or 2 periods, but not the 3 all the time. And it's finding that consistency, it's finding that motivation, it's that mentality that they talked about, the determination. So if they're able to keep that up, they've got a tough stretch of January where they play a bunch of teams at the top of the league, including this upcoming week. Well, they play Edmonton tomorrow, so you look to right the ship there. Play the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are near the top of the table. The New Jersey Devils are going to come to town, and they've been near the top of the table as well. The Boston Bruins, who just won the Winter Classic, that's why we're here at Rough and Tumble Pub, will come to town, or we'll play them. I don't know if they come here. But point being, it's going to be a tough stretch. They play a lot of division games as well. But if they're able to play like they did against the Islanders, I think they'll be able to make it out of this month with a winning month. I believe, their first losing month of the year was December. They had a great November where they effectively didn't lose at all. And October was they played a few games here and there. We missed the opener because of that 18-inning Mariner game. But
yeah.
So, point being, if they can do this consistently, I think they're dangerous. So.
All right, we'll go ahead into our players of the week. I'm going to go ahead and just continue here because I went with Adam Larsson, who we just had as our player of the game for that win against the New York Islanders. So Charles has thrown the stats up there, but my decision was based off of Sunday's first period goal, giving him a point in 6 consecutive games. And that is the first time that has happened in Adam Larsson's career. So congrats to him.
That's a great point too, and I liked when you put that in there. Credit to Bel. Bel did a great job on the notes this week. That's something too, is that I talk about the offensive input of this team, and with Tolvanen scoring, this Kraken team has a lot of depth. Their fourth line's been tremendous this year. They've got contributions from up and down the line. You don't always get that, right? You're not going to get scoring on your bench all the time necessarily. You might have a couple guys like a 6-man that you can count on to do that. But to get that sort of consistently if I can count on everybody all the way, if I can say, I can go down the lineup and I can say there's not that many, it's a good thing. And to that point, the defenseman pairs have been able to score offensively as well. And Larsson here with that streak, you like to see that because Larsson is part of your top defensive pairing, meaning he's one of your top 2 defensemen. Not defensive line. I got into the football mantra there. Top 2 defensemen. Yeah, he's not that big. But to see that is good because you want your defensemen to be able to chip in offensively as well. You got 5 guys on the ice in terms of skaters, and 2 of them are defensemen. So if you can have those 2 help, it's going to be a big deal. I went with Ryan Donato. So it's funny. We just had Nick and Liv here. Yeah. Donato and Larsson are their 2 favorite players. So I kind of chuckled.
I knew Larsson was Liv's.
So we've got this photo here of Ryan Donato. You can see it on your screen a little bit. He's trying to shush the Islanders defender. He's saying, shush, it'll be okay. Sweet nothings. I went with Donnie here. I almost agreed with Liv. I mean, Liv. I'm too busy talking about people that are not here right now. I almost agreed with Bel with the Larsson when he looked at the points, and I thought that was good. Thank you. Donato had 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, which is similar to what Larsson had on the week. But I liked just the plus minus that Donato had. Plus minus if you're on for the ice for goals or not. And 7 shots, 1 hit, 2 face-off wins. And with Tolvanen coming into the lineup, somebody had to come out. And I thought it was either Donato or Morgan Geekie. Morgan Geekie would end up going out. It just made sense, though, because Donato's been really producing in terms of points the last few games. And that's something he did even last year to earn a contract this year. So just hoping that he's able to keep that up. It's going to be tough. This is something I don't want to have to address necessarily right now. But there's even in the Seahawks season, right? We look at guys who are going to be free agents or so-and-so at the end of the year, right? We look at guys who are at the end of their contract. We have a bunch of guys for the Kraken who are going to have to be reevaluated, for that. But we're not even at All-Star break yet, so we're not going to worry about that just yet. We might take a look at that here in a little bit. But for now, we're going to leave that and get through the rest of this Kraken segment, which our buddy Shane Wright's doing all right. Why don't we look at team news?
Yeah, team Newts.
Did I say team Newts?
Oh. No, you didn't. I'm teasing you.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So as you mentioned, a prospect check-in here. Shane Wright, in 4 games, he's had 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, a +1 since his time in AHL Coachella Valley. With the Firebirds, 5 games, 4 goals. In the NHL, 1 game, 1 goal. World Juniors, 3 games, 3 goals. And 9 games, 8 goals?
That's just the total.
Okay. Sorry, confused me there. So yes, total of 9 games and 8 goals. We move on to Johnny Nyman, who has 4 games played, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, and 1 game winning goal. And Nicholas Coco, who hasn't played a game yet.
And so we're checking in our guys.
Yeah.
Shane's. This is something I've talked about, and even we talked about it when he was able to get into, even after he scored against Montreal. And was headed off to World Juniors. You know, he's had a great month of December, and now it's going to carry into January with the end of World Juniors. And you just really hope that this is a big, big builder. Oh, the sun's coming in. Is this my golden hour?
It is.
You just hope that this builds his confidence and is able to help him. The soonest game he could come back to Seattle would be January 7th versus Ottawa. And we'll get to it here when we go to upcoming, but the Kraken go on the road for like 13 days, which is like kind of long. So it'll, be a bit, but nice to see Shane have this nice time with, Bel broke it down with Coachella, the 1 game with the Kraken, and then the World Juniors. And even Yanni Nyman. Yanni Nyman's been doing pretty well in terms of the advanced stats as well. The 2 goals, 1 assist is great, 3 points overall, but some of his underlying stats as well have been really solid. And we talk about with the Mariners and their farm system. This goes for the prospect pool as well with the Kraken. So you like to see building for that future. I love it.
I'll let you touch on the next piece of news because I know that you're probably super stoked. Yes.
Ooh. So this was something. You know what? You're right. I'm going to stand for this. Maybe this is the Rainier talking. This was something. Oh, you can see my rain shirt. Okay. So I don't have the hats today, but I've got something. So this was something that was rumored over the past few weeks that Seattle would host this event, and it was a big deal. We actually, as I mentioned, Liv Lyons, our lead photographer, and her husband Nick were here as we were watching at Rough and Tumble, the Winter Classic between Pittsburgh and Boston. Typically, it's a game played between sort of the storied franchises, right? Some of the older teams. In venues like Fenway Park, like Wrigley Field. Where else have they done it? They've done it other places, but you get what I'm saying. It's kind of the older. The NHL is deciding to go in a different direction, and they're going to do so with 2 of the hottest markets in the NHL and 2 of the newest teams in the NHL. As it was announced earlier today that the Winter Classic is heading to Seattle. The 2024 Winter Classic, an outdoor game played between 2 teams, where both of them wear throwback uniforms, will take place at our beloved T-Mobile Park on New Year's Day as Seattle hosts the Las Vegas Golden Knights. It is the NHL's premier event. It will be the first outdoor contest for the Kraken, who began their NHL journey just last year. Ron Francis, the general manager of the team, had this to say: outdoor hockey is at the essence of our game and the way many of our players grew up playing it. We are thrilled to have the chance to showcase this in Seattle. The 2024 Discover NHL Winter Classic continues the tradition the league established in 2008 of hosting a regular season, at the onset of the new year, with the 2024 edition marking the 16th anniversary. CEO of the Kraken, Todd Lewicki, had this to say: "We are honored that the NHL has selected the Kraken in just our 2nd season to host this amazing event at the home of our friends, the Mariners." Over 40,000 fans. Think about that. Climate Pledge Arena holds about 18,000 at full capacity. 40,000 is more than double that. And T-Mobile Park can hold more than double that. So maybe I don't know how that'll go from now until then, but it's looking good. I can imagine they're going to do a good job of selling that place. Over 40,000 fans will witness the beauty and grace of our wonderful game in a venue that showcases the Puget Sound surrounded by the Cascade and Olympic Mountains. Katie Griggs, Seattle Mariners president of business operations, had this to say: "It's a tremendous honor to host the next NHL Winter Classic at T-Mobile Park. We're thrilled to have the opportunity to support our hometown team when they take the ice and see our ballpark packed to the rafters with our city's incredible fans cheering them on. So you're right. This is a slam dunk. When I saw it, it was like, okay, with the rumors, I know we talked about rumors in the Sounder segment, right? You got to take things with a grain of salt because it can be like this was stuff that got this close. It could be just completely wrong. This is great to see. And it was interesting because there are a couple venues. People have theorized this thing sort of happening since the team actually began. They thought Lumen Field. I thought Lumen Field would fit the best just because of the way it's built like a bowl. It would surround the ice better. Husky Stadium on Montlake was thought about, which I understand that because it's the greatest setting in college football. But T-Bone Park makes the most sense because you think New Year's Day and the weather in the city. And if it rains on that ice, the game is done. They can't play anymore, If it snows like it has in some of these other games, these other Winter Classics, it's fine because it's basically already snow, right? Water and that rain. So T-Mobile Park's roof, I think, was the biggest factor there. Todd Lewicki did speak with the media right as we were setting up, and he did say that the roof was nice, but he said the biggest factor was how much the Mariners helped pitch this to the NHL. I think the roof is the bigger thing. But it's good to know, we talk, all we do at Circling Seattle Sports here, right, with all of our teams, you always like to see when they kind of are buddies with each other like that. Hey, you just copied my hand motion. So this was just a great example of that because they reached out to the Mariners. The Mariners were like, oh, this is great. And the Mariners really pushed that. So that's awesome. I think that's really awesome and will be a ton of fun to see. I'm interested to see how that works for us, Bel, in terms of press and all that, because it's like a crossover episode. You ever watch those crossover episodes like Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents or something? Stuff it's a crossover episode. They've had it in a bunch of different shows. Brooklyn Nine-Nine and New Girl had a crossover episode that I didn't even realize until I watched both of them. It's a crossover episode between our friends at the Mariners, whether it's PR, the fans, the workers, and then the Kraken. They're going to collide. It's going to be interesting to see that. So it'll be a ton of fun, but look forward to that in the next season.
Yeah, very exciting confirmed rumor. So not a rumor anymore. But we'll move on to some league news here. On the 28th, the NHL has fined the Maple Leafs $100K. The league has penalized Toronto for traveling during the league-mandated Christmas break for Tuesday's game in St. Louis. We'll move back to our Kraken here for our standing and record. We currently sit at 19-12-4 record, fourth in the Pacific with 42 points. Looking ahead, we have a game tomorrow at the Edmonton Oilers this time. That's a 6 p.m. puck drop. On the 5th at the Toronto Maple Leafs with a 4 p.m. puck drop. And then once again away at the Ottawa Senators for a 4 p.m. puck drop.